Okay, people, the magic machine tells me that I'm live, so I will trust that I'm indeed live. Okay, I will trust that I'm indeed live now. I am recording earlier in the day than I did last time, so my sweet mates are still with me, so I will be probably less animated and verbose and intense than I was last time, which will probably be, maybe to many people's liking, maybe. The black ink depths, I busy as a beaver. I had a lot of work that I had to take care of, so I did not have an opportunity to return to the black ink depths after our marathon stream. I had 2 hours where I basically just spoke, then began to look like I was going to head into the dungeon on into the gargoyle. Let's find the actual terminology here. The Where am I? Bueller. Ah, Garden of the Gargoyles. Realizing that I was 2 hours into the stream, said, "Well, look, this is going to be, an ungainly stream to try and manage." So decided to, start a new stream for just the play. That turned out to be an hour, and we just got 2 rooms in. Let me share a screen here. I actually took the time to actually send myself. Let me see if I can do this here. To do. Here we go. Here we go. Let's see if I can do this. Ah, such wonderful. Please ignore all spelling errors. I'm not a fantastic speller. So when I was so jazzed. We had rolled up a character. I'd shared with you the character I'd pre-generated earlier, and I was so jazzed. We had began to generate a dungeon, and as luck would have it, the first 2 rooms we generated were rooms featuring a healing benches that could heal +3, plus D3 healing. So I thought to myself, and I shared with the audience the thought that I thought that this gave our guy, a fighting chance. Micro RPG is a notoriously rough system, especially on beginning characters. It's kind of like a Dark Souls kind of system. It's kind of like prepare to die. You know what I mean? Like it's not easy going. So, but I thought that this gave our guy, especially with 2 healing bench rooms, and I pontificated. I said, look, guys, this is going to play like, an RPG, a JRPG, cheese it loop. I said, I think we're going to have our guy go back and forth. I said, statistically, on, on going back into a room on a reroll for monsters, statistically it's unlikely that we're going to be able to that we're going to generate new monsters. Therefore, it's possible for our guy to go back and forth here and be able to heal up kind of adequately. I anticipated that this was going to be good. Anyway, an hour into the to play through, we're having a good time, we're having a fine time, but I'm still just only 2 rooms into the first dungeon of the Black Ink Depths, knowing that the creator of Micro RPG, Noah Patterson, has announced to the world that their intentions to release one mini dungeon in this Black Ink Depths campaign per day for the month of October. Now, look, I don't think that it really Noah thinks that. I mean, I first thought was like, I said I was like, what is this? Do they, I send, I'm in, DM contact with Noah. I harass them on Instagram, and whether it's through DM or whether it's in comments to these announcements on Instagram. I don't think that Noah believes that anyone is going to play. I think they hope that multiple people are going to buy 31 mini dungeons. I mean, at 99 cents, these are not, I don't think, it's an exorbitant, you get, as solo RPG content goes, and as look, I mean, these things are what they are. I mean, these are like video game, cartridges for an Atari. These are, they are what they are. They do what they do. They run the console, the 8-bit console that is micro RPG for X number of miles. You know what I mean? They do what they do, and they don't do. It's not a 5e. It's not, Pathfinder second edition. It's not a module. It's not Ravenloft. You know what I mean? It's not intended to be so. But we'll get to it. And, it's not a perfect system, and we'll get to what the product is. We'll get to some criticisms that I have. I'm going to flip flop on the luck dice again. My first impressions of the Black Ink Depths, I came and I said, look, there's mechanics in this micro chapbook, micro RPG system that are being added. I think they're being added out of boredom. One of them was this luck dice. And then I said, I came back and I said, I guess the luck dice is, maybe I'm being too much of a curmudgeon. I'm going to go back and I'm going to say the luck dice is there's some BS that's being added. And why am I going to say that there's BS being added? Because there's good stuff that's being left on the chopping room floor. The Black Ink Depth starter module is missing some good stuff that needs to be in here for, if there are people that are going to be buying this, there might be people coming in on the holiday season, the Halloween season. The Black Ink Depth starter module might be their first introduction into micro RPG. Hey, Renee, Miss Jonaside, how you doing? Have you ever played Rifts? No, but I'm a Palladium super fan, so it's unbelievable. It's kind of weird that I haven't, but I haven't. I'm not going to lie and say that I have. You are first in the live chat. You get a gold medal, Renee. I think it's I'm not sure if it's your first gold medal, but maybe your first gold medal here. Welcome, Renee. Let me highlight you. Yo, look at me. Renee, check this out. You and me are balling, kid, and I'm going to tell you why. You just made me like legendary, and I'm going to tell you why, girl. Let me tell you why. You're my hero. I'm going to tell you why. You basically just made me you locked me on so many levels. It's not even funny. Like for success. You're like a legit female, honestly, right? And you join my live chat. I'm like a solo RPG channel here. And you join my live chat. You know what I'm saying? I'm like a god. You know what I'm saying? And you're another man's wife. So I'm like, you know what I mean? For those who know, you know what I mean? I might as well just get up and give Bill McConaughey. I might as well just give it the Deadly Dragon. I'm kidding. It's genocide, so he'll get the joke. But yo, check this out. Renee, it is amazing. I have like 30 of the old books. This genocide, teach me. Guide me in the way of Rifts. I know about Rifts, and it is on the bucket list. There are things on my bucket list. My bucket list is not predicated on moving things into the future. It is all based on systems in the past that are like things that I'm to check off. And absolutely 100%, as a Palladium super fan, the big hole is Rifts, without a doubt. I know about Glimmer Boys, the Glitter Boys or whatever. Teach me. Renee, just opened my YouTube and saw you're on. It's just fate. Don't listen. I can't highlight any comments if it's going to be like, you didn't come here for me. Come on now. Shh. And we just have to say, with all the things going on with Wings of Redemption and there you go. Listen, just don't say that, Renee. Just act like, Renee. Listen, if you listen, here's how you do it. We can do this right out in the open. People are so thirsty. We can do this right out in the open, and they will still come. They will still come. Tim Fry and David Bucket just showed up. Proof Proof. Silver medal to Tim Frey, David Bucky grabbing that bronze. Here we go. Check this out. Step number one, Miss Renee. Check this out. Renee loves riffs. Renee, I love riffs. Miss Jonaside. Okay. Number two, start a Patreon. Theoretically, based on the fact that you're maybe thinking about starting a YouTube channel. Step number four, watch that Patreon grow based on this sole appearance on showing up as a female in a live chat from Lon and Diane. Anyway, speaking of Diane, back to the topic at hand. Thank you for participating in the live chat. Love you. Love you. Everyone loves Thelma. Check this out. I'm loving it. Some of it needs to be put back in and not left on the cutting room floor. Let's do this. Focusing in. Here we go. So I played live online and had some fun. We got 2 rooms in, and I was already like, this was already the second day of the celebration, third day of the celebration. I was on the day 1 dungeon and was like, how am I ever going to catch up? Well, look, I knew at the rate that I was going that I wasn't going to be doing anything like completing a dungeon a night, let alone doing that, but whatever. So anyway, long story short, I come back last night and I finally have an opportunity, after all is said and done, to come back and sit down and play. And so I sit down and I come back and I've got my guy, I got my character sheet, and I got a couple of cool things going. Number one, I figured out like a kind of an interesting thing. I love hard copy. Like, so I buy Noah Patterson's work generally as the books that are available, print on demand, via, I get them on Amazon, and and usually just, pick them up, on PDF on DriveThruRPG, if that's either the only way that they're available, and these currently are only available that way. The Black Ink Depth starter module just got released on Amazon, but the individual, usually this is the way it is with the smaller pieces, like just the individual dungeons, they don't come out on print on demand. They're just available on PDF. So the thing is just available on PDF or whatever, I'll get it on DriveThruRPG. But I found out that it kind of having these things and playing this dungeon on the printout, having the things loose, having the pages loose, and having the different, because what this game really is basically just 3 or 4 interlocking tables. Really, you're just rolling on tables, and once you have the flow of the game, and once you have the flow of the combat system, you're just basically going back and referencing just 2 or 3 tables over and over again, until you die, basically. So having the individual pages out, and open, and just having them, I found a kind of an interesting system with a big enough area, having the tables out on, just 2 or 3 pieces of paper, and just with the character sheet and the graph paper, I found a kind of a nice way for me to just play. That was different than how I'd been working, which was just with the graph paper and the book. But usually the way it was with the book was that the tables would end up being on, just, maybe sometimes even just, 2 or 3 pages apart. But just, I found just that change of just going from flipping between 2 or 3 pages apart in a book, putting the book up, putting the book down, and then just the difference between that and just visually referencing these things immediately without having that simple mechanical process just made it kind of groovier and smoother. So it was just an interesting little personal breakthrough. Um, and those little things make a difference, especially in my older age. You'd be amazed how the simple thing like a life hack like that will make a difference to a crotchety old guy. Anyway, um, the other thing that I can tell you this is the irony of this notion that those two healing benches were going to be the saving grace of cadence humor, our seasoned spacefaring soldier for hire who had been ruthlessly grasped from his shitty life as such to the gargoyle garden of gothic hedge maze horror, whatever, because playing, rolling the dice, and I generated room number 3 and had actually discovered, a chest there, and discovered a lantern there, and was kind of kalukale and was feeling kind of good about myself. Had cleared the enemies in there, and had actually had a successful treasure roll generating 8 units of currency, and was doing good. I had made some notations, though. I had discovered some stuff about the rules that kind of had caused me some not concern, but was noteworthy. Um, Maybe I'll just go through kind of like the results of the playthrough last night, and then I'll kind of go through the results of kind of what I discovered. Then I'll kind of go through what, looking at the other modules that I've printed out and seen. Haven't played yet, but I'll tell you my assessment of them. So far, looking at the units. Hey, Jonas, what's going on, baby? How you doing? I've your wife's here. I hadn't noticed. Nothing happened. Love you, baby. What's going on? Jonas, I'm my number one choice for prison inmate partner. We all know that, right? We agreed. We agreed. Day number 1, we flip for top bunk. We flip for top bunk. Who do we flip? The little guy. Come on now. Do. Speaking of flipping the little guy, so what ended up happening was I got in, I got the chest, I got that nice treasure roll, woohoo, and then I was down on, but I was down. I thought these 6 little guys, these they were not even the hardest guys in the on the lineup, and that's it was something that I hadn't noticed when I kind of started the dungeon, but after dying, and especially when looking at all of the dungeons in toto, kind of in preparation for this review, I noticed something about these dungeons. These dungeons are not for low level characters, though this you're kind of encouraged to start a new character at the outset. I don't know how you're going to be able to do this these dungeons, these Black Ink Depths dungeons with new characters. They're completely skewed. They're harder than the initial. They're harder by scales of magnitude by like 4 or 3 or 4 degrees than the initial games when they first came on the scene in 2020. I mean, statistically, this is math. You can look at these numbers and you can figure how hard the probability of these monsters arriving at a point in the character's career is, and what the likelihood of them being able to survive an encounter is. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, these anyway. I mean, we'll get to it anyway. So, looking at this map, I thought my guy thought that what was the whole theory? The whole theory was having these benches with these healing benches that could heal ID3 damage, which would be, what's ID3? It's you roll a 6-sided dice, you have the result, and you round up, right? So if you rolled like a 5, it would be 2.5. That would be 3, whatever. So modicum of healing, but based on the fact that there were 2. But anyway, so here was the first thing. The first thing that happened I noticed is that, okay, well, what was that backtracking rule? Now I play a lot of micro Chapbook RPG, so I have a lot of these rules kind of in my head. But you know what happens sometimes is that if I've gone, 3 or 4 days without playing, or if I've gone, X amount of time without playing, I don't always feel like exceptionally confident. I usually has a tendency, especially because when you play this game, you always generally have the rule right in front of you. I generally look at the rule as I'm executing the rule. So when I was playing this game, I thought, well, what's the backtracking rule? Also, because you never know with Noah Patterson when you're looking at the new iteration of the game, whether it's the Academy of Mistahag or whether it's friggin', whatever, Neon Road or whatever, is the omission of this line item like dual wielding. Is that omission intentional? Because as a game designer, they don't want that technique, that game mechanic in this iteration of the game? Or was it omitted for space constraint? They didn't have the space to put that line in. That line had to be compromised for something else, or was it just omitted for some other reason? I do not get the impression that Noah Patterson has a great locked set of this is the listing or the rules boilerplate for their system. I really don't. And so when it came down to this backtracking rule that was like a standard rule that, what happens when you go back to a room that's already been cleared of monsters. Like there's a rule that's been in existence for the game for many iterations of the game that says that's always been there, that exists for what happens when you go back to a room that has already been cleared for monsters. And what it is you roll a 6-sided die, and on a roll of 6 on the 6-sided die, there are new monsters in that room, and you have to roll on the monster chart to determine, as if you were going into that room for the first time. You just roll on the monster chart again as if it was a new room, and you would, at the conclusion of that battle, you would roll on the treasure chart as if you had cleared it, but you would roll on the treasure chart compromised. You would subtract 1 or 2 from the treasure chart roll to illustrate the fact that the room had already been, ransacked. The room had already been gone through, so that these wandering monsters were, not sitting on anything, had not been sitting on any loot that they had previously accumulated. There, it was a compromised treasure roll. So anyway, so this is a rule that I would anticipate seeing reproduced in the gameplay basics of a lot of that I would expect to see. It's not it's not a obtuse, obscure side rule that I would think would be left on the wayside. Because remember, I've been complaining that there was this huge chunk of the latest games, the latest books that have been given over to these 2 big things that I complained about. Number one was, well, the lesser complaint is this thing that's been introduced called power moves. Now, one of the things was there was this big move in 2021 to say that the systems were being codified into a standardized system from like the micro RPG system. And then immediately after that so-called codification process took place, no codification had taken place because all this new shit started getting introduced. So it's like, what happened? Nothing happened. Okay, great. And that was also the dawn of the Gay Realms Awakening, you know, where everything turned into fantastically gay realms. Okay, whatever. You know, it is what it is, though. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But um the thing was, then the other thing was this: there's this huge amount of real estate that's given up to this thing called the luck dice, which is just this thing. This luck dice is just this. Anyone who's familiar with the solo RPG scene knows that there's these aspects of, you know, oracle systems. There's aspects of you know, standard operating procedures, like from like the black hack, the the breaking dice, the dice getting smaller, like the D20 turning into the D12, turning into the D8 to simulate arrows breaking down, like that thing. Like that's just like a mechanic that can be taken from one game and put into another. But you just, that's a blog post. Hey guys, if you want to add this to micro Chapbook RPG to simulate, you know, more realism with your guys' arrows breaking down, it's not a mechanic that you need to friggin' sacrifice backtracking or dual wielding. There's no dual wielding mentioned in the Black Ink Depth starter module. Dual wielding and friggin' dual wielding is not mentioned. The friggin' what I just said, backtracking gets cut. And why? Essentially, probably because the luck dice gets put in, and the luck dice is put in and is only like mentioned in one of the modules I've seen so far, and it really seems like it's mentioned basically to mention it. And that's what I mean. Like it seems like basically like the designer, I think, is getting bored with their own product. They've been doing micro Chapbook RPG, micro RPG for like for like 2 friggin' years, and I don't blame them. It's not rocket science. If you're Dr. Seuss and you're not a kid, you're like actually an adult, but you're writing Dr. Seuss books. Like I bet you, like there were times when he was like sitting down like to write a Dr. Seuss book, and he wanted to like gouge out his eyes and just like commit a sex crime, right? Just wanted to go out and like grab someone because like to write another friggin', this is my hand, my man, this is my hand going to the pan, like to be Dr. Seuss must have been just excruciating at times when you're actually an adult. Do you know what I mean? Like, so if you're Noah Patterson, I'm sure like Noah Patterson has like sophisticated game mechanics in his head. They're just like dying to get out. But you have this great system called micro RPG that's a simple system. And if you start jettisoning aspects of the great simple system because you're bored with it and you're trying to, put these things to entertain yourself into it, but then you end up losing the things that actually gave the fundamental thing cohesion. That's what we're going to get to, because at the end of the day, the Black Ink Depths, first of all, needed to be advertised to be for advanced characters. The fact that it encourages you to make a new character and it doesn't include, it just doesn't, it can't work as is because, okay, let's just, it is, I mean, it can if you just want people to die. David Buggy says, have I done any of the Neon Road game? That's good that you brought it up. I haven't played the Neon Road game. I own it, but the Neon Road game PDF, is good that you mentioned it because the PDF is on sale on Drive-Thru RPG. Today I saw for 99 cents. So that's a great game to get into if you want to get into it. We say hello to Rugged Source. How you doing, Rugged Source? Here we go. Okay, here we go. So the long story. So I thought my guy was going to be able to heal up through these healing benches. He goes back into this room number 2, to get to the first healing bench, and what do you know? He rolls on the 6-sided die. He's already weakened. Okay, he was already weakened as a result of his encounter with these little armored wing nuts. What were they called? Hold on. Hold on. Ay, ay, ay. I did the whole. I did the whole. Got this. Here's present. Stop. Because I have all the things. Hold on. There you go. These sons of gun. It's exhausting. Why don't I go through this exhausting detail? Oh yeah, I think it was one of these guys. I think it was the. Was it the? It was the. Yeah, no, it was the tiny stone winged rat. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So ridiculous. Painstaking detail. Why am I going through all this painstaking detail? Not necessary. The tiny stone winged rat. And number one, it was such a pain in my butt because I'm so used to rules 1.5. Nice. What a guy. Love you, Rugged Source. God bless you. Um, the armor, so I'm a solid 1.0 1.5 player, so dealing with these damage modifiers and these the armor ratings was such a pain in my butt. I really, what I'm going to do next time I play is I'm going to make a flow chart of the combat, so I don't forget and keep on forgetting to do the armor and the damage modifier. And that's what we'll also talk about when we get to these modules, because they all have these insane they all replace the normal boss finding mechanics with these arcane boss location or level completion mechanics that are difficult for me to visualize how they work in some instances, and we'll get to them as we get to them. But what I wanted to show you is this: is that what really makes the most sense for me to show you is this. Before I was headed into the Halloween season with micro RPG, what my main project was with the rule system was wanting to memorize the basic tables and formulas behind the 1.0 1.25 games. The first you know you know cavern of skeletons, vermin, field of vermin or whatever it is, cave of the undead, those first games, if you look at them, and even if you look at the first iteration of the basic game rules, early on, even when it came to the monsters, and I came up with, even for the monsters, even though there was the most play in that table, in that area, generally all the games were pretty much the same, you know, with very slight variations. It was all, though the names changed, it was all the same values as far as damage and cost for the melee weapons and the ranged weapons in the shop, for the effects and cost for the consumables and the armor, and for generally the door tables and the room effects, right? There's four main stats. So for the first couple of games, you could look. There was a D6 that was rolled. So there's four main stats. For the first couple of games, it was there were one room each would fuck up one of your stats. One of the rooms might give you a +1 on a treasure roll, or each of the rooms would fuck up one of your stats, and two of the rooms would do nothing. And you could figure out pretty easily what the rules were for each of those little tables, each of those little modules. And even for the monsters, you figured out what the spread was for the 6 entries. And it was a graduation from, and you saw there was a will damage, a health damage, and a life force. So there's 3 stats for 6 entries, and they didn't, it wasn't the same 6 3 data points for every entry along all the first 4 or 5 games, but you could see the way that it kind of worked, how it kind of played. It was a slow graduation over the the will damage would increase first, and then the health damage would increase, life damage would increase over time. So you kind of got the general feel that how things kind of increase gradually. So even though it was true, the fact that, a guy could walk into the dungeon, roll a 5 on the first monster, and technically face kind of like the second, kind of mini boss, and catch a bad hand, generally, statistically, there was 2 little kind of weakling guys. There was kind of 2 medium guys, and there was 1 boss, and you didn't face the boss until the end of the dungeon. The rules kind of were set up that way. And even then, a character formulated with 7 points allotted to their stats had a tough time with those little guys that were formulated with the first entry guys, had a life force of 1 and a max amount of guys showing up of 6. And you would see how the number of max guys showing up would kind of break down. And I can tell you, as a guy who studied those first couple of games and studied the games afterwards, how those kind of general things would work over those. So I can tell you what a first level guy with 7 points allotted to their first couple of stats, their survival rate was weak against those sort of enemy lineups. Where am I going with this? These enemy lineups are like 5 times stronger than those early enemy lineups. These guys are designed to kill people on room 1. Which is fine if people are going in. If look, there's another competing product on the market. The nearest competing, when I think of micro RPG in this market, and I don't know how this works. I don't, I'm not like tight with the guy behind the scenes, so I don't know what the friggin' here we go, temporary lull. I remember when some kid was DMing in high school and tried to pull, okay, everyone calculate your weapon speed factor. Needless to say, it didn't go over great. That's what I mean. You know what I mean? We don't need this. You gotta look at the old video, my rugged source friend. Come on now, you're like a child rugged source who comes in the middle of the presentation and demands to know what's going on. Please, my friend. Hold on, where was I? You distracted me, you son of a gun. I love you, you beautiful bastard. This is not a game of skill. This is not Metroid. Look, folks, this is not Metroid or Castlevania or Dark Souls. Okay? At the end of the game, the role playing games are a game of chance. We're rolling dice here, okay? So this is not like a crotchety old guy going, blah, 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 blah. This is not an issue of me not pressing my thumb fast enough, okay? This comes down to pure friggin' probability and mathematics. So anyway, back to it. So I don't know if we think about solo RPGs and similarly situated market, products on the market. I guess there's another kind of similar kind of product, like solo role playing products, that's sold as a book and played in this way, and it's a product called For Against Darkness. They label their books, and there's another solo RPG, very popular solo RPG called Tunnels and Trolls, that's been around since Dungeons and Dragons. It's like the second published RPG, I think it is, though it wasn't. I think started as a solo RPG. I think maybe it was. I don't. You know what I mean? Like it was supposed to be both, like one of these bothers. Bothers, is that a word? Jesus. Um, here's I have the reprint from the 1975 reprint. This is the 2013 reprint of the 1975. They basically, to show you like that nothing changes in the sun. They read the 1975 Dungeons and Dragons rules, started playing it, and said this sucks. So they rewrote it as Tunnels and Trolls. So it goes to show you, everyone gets it. Ken St. Andre, they get it. They take something and say this is great, but this needs to be improved, and they improve it, and then they change it, and then somebody changes it again. You know what I mean? So I don't know. So it keeps on going. But anyway, but we're saying with, like, For Against Darkness, there's For Against Darkness modules that they advertise, and they say this module is intended for characters levels, 4 to 5. Or Dungeons and Dragons, right? You'd have the beginner red box, and then there was like the blue box, right? Was it like, this is for levels like, 4 to 10 or whatever, it would take you from the other levels. You know what I mean? So I think that maybe Noah Patterson should have advertised the Black Ink Depths as being for character levels 5 through 10, because there's no way for a new character. And but this module starts, the Black Ink Depths start with new character generation. They start with standard character generation. These are not these enemies are not I can tell you are unless I'm on crank. It's entirely possible that I'm having a senior moment. I don't believe that I am. Even the inclusion of armor changes it. No, I'm not on crank. There's no way. Yeah, they have a damage modifier itself. Even just the inclusion of a damage modifier. No, because look, yeah, there's just no way. No, because no. Life force of 5, there's 3, the damage. There's just no, there's no way. Because you have this guy, because at 2, the large stone back gargoyle, 3, a D2, D4, life force of 5, and an armor of 1. That's at 3. Well, I guess, but they have no. The first entry is no monster in this room, but you roll on the trap table, and the traps are absolutely unforgiving. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. That's just my take on it, and it is what it is. So look. Hey, a personal assessment, it does not make it right. It's just my take on it. So what would be my take on it? My take on it is this: is that number one, I love micro RPG. I love micro chapbook RPG. I'm behind it 100%. So what my take on it is this: is that I think that uh, that my starting at Black Ink Depths, the starter module, I think the first problem is this: is that I don't know how new characters are going to fare, considering that new characters used to fare poorly against much weaker starting enemies. And these enemies, looking at the enemies in these enemies, are ridiculous compared to the earlier starting enemies. So I guess the point, unless the point of these dungeons are it's Happy Halloween, you fucking dead. And that might be point of it. That could be it. Happy Halloween, you're dead. Roll a new character. Happy Halloween, you're dead. Hey, Happy Halloween. Day number 3, Happy Halloween, you're dead. Hey, it's day number 4. Pay Pig, what's going on? I'm Noah Patterson. What's going on, bitch? It's Squids. Happy Halloween, you're dead. Oh, it's an obtuse boss finding mechanic. Don't worry about it. You're not going to have to worry about it. Maybe that's the joke, huh? You ever think about that? Don't worry about how to get to the friggin' bellhop, bell tower, fucking ringamarole. You never have to worry about it. You know what? You're dead. Happy Halloween, hooker. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Missing the line about no. So main stats. You begin the game by determining your 4 main stats. You can do this randomly by rolling D3 for each. D6 with the result halved and rounded up, or you can select your stats by spending 7 points between them. No stat can have a score above 4 at this point in character creation. Your 4 main stats are, and then I wrote on the side, missing the line about no stat can have less than 1 point at this stage. It's a simple line, but if you're new, a very new person, you might put a 0 there. Why wouldn't you? People do all sorts of crazy things. Look in the comments on Drive Through RPG that Noah Patterson gets. Noah Patterson gets all sorts of questions from people like, okay, how do I start? So why is the line about making sure that you don't add, nothing, the minimum is 1, but you put in the friggin' luck dice? I'm sorry, I'm being too hard. Core character type world. Now, here's the other thing. In the Black Ink Depth starter module, we get to the point where it says Ink Step 3, Ink Shadow Hunter ability. Next, you will choose an Ink Shadow Hunter ability. This is an area or skill of training that makes you proficient in 1 main stat. Proficiency will be explained in the segment on stat test. That's fine. Okay. So we have Ink Shadow Hunter ability in the Black Ink Depth starter module. That's fine because our new character has to have proficiency, because proficiency is a characteristic that people in the micro RPG gameplay system have, right? Okay. But when we go to the other games, all of a sudden we'll see them say, like if we go to the game for the next date, October 2nd, Asylum of Spiders, all of a sudden, where's Asylum of Spiders? Here we go. Let me get to this. This is great. Da, 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 da. Watch this. Watch this. This is great. Okay, now watch this. For no reason, watch this. Hold on. Okay, the Black Ink Depths, the Dark Beneath. This is from the Asylum of Spiders. People live in the sunlight world, blah, 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 blah. The Black Ink Depths is an ethereal realm that exists just outside our own. Most people who live in the world and dimensions of the gay realms have no concept of its existence. Again, the gay realms, it causes confusion because people don't know, you know, what the gay realms are supposed to be. Is it our reality where everyone's gay? It, it God bless them. I and I have no. Everyone knows I have no problem with this. Believe you me, I'll visit any day you want. I'll hang it. Get me to go. Try and get me to leave. Those who do discover the underbelly. Now here's where it gets interesting. Okay, blah blah blah. Watch this. Those who find themselves lost in the black in depths, okay, typo, and manage to survive become known to others as ink shadow hunters. These people can come from any realm, world, or dimension in the gay realms. But here's the thing, but people have been playing this fucking game, Noah, for 2 years. And your gay realms revolution, took place in 2021. So if I've got a character from Into Terror, are they from the gay realms? Can they come to the Black Ink Depths? Or do they need to show their papers? Or will they be escorted out? You know what I mean? It gets crazy. But you know what I mean? For intellectual reasons. I have no idea. Anyway, if you're using a character from another micro RPG game book and not one from the Black Ink Darkness starter, choose an Ink Shadow Hunter ability below. Each grants a proficiency in one main stat. This proficiency replaces the one your character already had. Why? Now, here's the other problem. In the Blank Ink's Depth starter module, it does not tell you that about needing to replace your earlier character's proficiency with an Ink Shadow Hunter ability. So already between October 1st and October 2nd, you've introduced a core mechanical fucking earth-shattering Chris Chan dimensional merge problem. I'm like the fucking monitor of this fucking transdimensional thing, and I will not let it go. I will Agent Smith the shit out of this whole fucking Ink Shadow dimension. There's no, I'm an attorney, by the way. There is no mention of this Ink Shadow Hunter ability needing to supersede a person's proficiency in the Black Ink Depths starter module. And yet, starting in October 2nd with the Black Ink Depths Asylum of Spiders, we are told that the proficiency needs to be taken and replaced with this one. So what if you've already been playing with your character and they've survived the frigging Gargoyle Garden? What then? And what is the point? Why do they need to have their proficiency swapped out for one of these? Is it because you realize that all of a sudden, there's a problem? Because it's okay, it's fine, it's whatever. But and here's the problem. In some of your other books, people have double proficiencies. So if they have to swap out one of their proficiencies, do they lose their double proficiency? Double proficiency, I had to realize, meant that you have to roll 3 dice. And we don't even know what happens with double proficiency in a weakened state because no one has told us. I don't know unless they've answered it once on Facebook. I'm fine. It'll be fine. This is not a big deal. I'm happy that I'm buying all of them. Now, the problem is that here's the other problem. The normally okay, so and why? And we don't even know why the proficiency would need to be swapped out, other than the proficiency being swapped out causes a rift and a problem, if only friggin' metaphysically, between the starter module and everything else that comes later, and possibly with people's friggin' people's proficiencies for their characters oftentimes comes from their classes, and oftentimes came from classes and aspects that they came up themselves. So it messes with like the role playing. It's and why? And you're not even telling us why. Whatever. Then here's the dungeon details. So whatever. Now here we go. The dungeon goes. So normally, so then what happened was this: is that it used once upon a time the way that you got to the boss in Micro Chapbook RPG. Check it again, you guys. Here we go. David Bucky says, "So is it just the first room, or is it hard the whole way through?" No, it's hard. That's what she said. Well, what's the point of adding your previous game's character if you're just going to switch out his ability for a list of abilities from the game you're trying to get him in? Hold on, don't. Did you ever play any computer role-playing games, Ultima in particular? We'll get to that. I mean, hold on. So, once upon a time, Micro Chapbook RPG, Micro RPG, one of its appeals and its simple dynamic involved a very simple resolution to the end of the game, which was you rolled for the appearance of monsters in the dungeon. And there was a rule for the appearance of the final monster, the final boss. And when you defeated the final boss, the dungeon was cleared. And the way that it used to work was you would roll a d6 for the monster chart, and there were 6 entries. 1 through 5 were the normal monsters, and number 6 was the boss. And number 6, the boss monster, would only appear after you had seen all of the previous entries at least once. Now, that provided a mechanic for a delay of the final boss, which was good. But the bad part that people realized was it provided a possibly interminably long delay for the appearance of the boss, because you could be there for eons, because the game also included a system where there were no dead ends. So you could have a dungeon that would go on forever, and you could be rolling and the boss would never appear. And it was, oh my God. So quickly people came up with homebrew rules and submitted them to Noah, and they were incorporated, and it's as offered up a suggestion. That's part of the problem. You're giving us all this real estate is dedicated to this useless luck die mechanic. No one likes the luck die. No, get rid of it. No one cares. The luck dice is useless. We don't need it. We love that old grandma, Geek Gamers. She loves the luck dice. Mythic RPG emulation is wonderful. We don't need the luck dice. You don't need to put it in there. It's not a core mechanic of Micro Chapbook RPG. It's a generic RPG mechanic that could be just referenced in a blog article and left on the cutting room floor. You just don't need it. It just doesn't need to be mentioned, because it's not a core mechanic, as far as I know, as far as I care. But I'm not you. If you think it's a core mechanic and you want to put it in there, put it on in there. What do I think it is? I think it's a hole in the bottom of the boat that's preventing you from taking the time to make sure that the backtracking rule is in there, and the melee double, the double melee possibility, dual wielding is in there to make sure that people that are buying the Black Ink Depths as their first entry, are doing it as their first entry, and make sure that that's in there. Also taking the time to make sure that if you're doing things like the Black Ink Depths where the enemies are totally skewed to Pluto, that you're taking the time to say, you know what, these characters need to be built with not 7 points. These guys need to be built out with 9 points. It doesn't need to be a plus 20 to the health and willpower for the initial build out. It needs to be a plus 30 ad or plus 40 ad or whatever, because these guys are going to get creamed. These guys are going to get annihilated, or tell people they should build out with a party of 4 or whatever. But that's just a suggestion, or maybe it's just a suggestion to the audience at home. If you're having a tough time with this, here might be part of the problem. Let me tell you, as a guy that's played and looked at in depth, looked a long time at the monster stats for the first couple of games, that guys that played role-playing games, the guys and gals that took a look at the first couple of games that came out of Noah Patterson's micro Chapbook RPG system when COVID hit, right? The guys and gals that sold micro Chapbook RPG all had a tough time. All had a tough time and said, wow, this game is fun. It's exciting. It's ingenious with what this person did with this limited number of resources, but this game is super fucking hard, and I keep on dying. And they were dying against leveled monsters that were, if I'm lying, I'm dying. I know. Okay. I know that if you multiply 4 times 3, you get a number that's bigger than 4. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I know you get 12. Right? Yeah. Fuck you. I know. I understand those kind of orders of magnitude, right? I'm not that dumb. I'm smart enough to be a lawyer. I know that kind of math without a calculator. And with a calculator, I'm dangerous and can really understand that these guys are going to get creamed. This is an excellent dungeon if you've got a 5th level maxed out crazy character with double proficiency that you're not going to swap out for one of these new proficiencies. Who cares about yours? And what does it matter? Why would you need to swap out words for more words? It's ridiculous. I have no idea. And tell me why. The next thing that happens is this: so that elegant boss mechanic that needed to be tweaked a couple of different ways and have some alternative boss rules so that you didn't end up hanging out for 10,000 years in the Black Ink Depths seems to be replaced in each dungeon with a different escape mechanic. Now, a tip of the hat to the game designer for stretching out and coming up with new things. But I'll tell you this, when I looked at each of these, not with the same effect, but when I looked at each of these mechanics, I said to myself, this is going to affect my desire to play each of these. And some of them I thought, I'm not going to play that system that way at all because it's a pain in the ass. And that's the thing. So a lot of these extra mechanics, I think I'm just going to lose. Part of this thing that I wanted to do was, this was my experience. I consider myself a 1.0, 1.5 micro Chapbook RPG, kind of purist, because that's the level I like it. They added these new mechanics, with this armor rating and damage modifiers and different dice. And for me, it doesn't add anything. Maybe it's because I haven't been playing for 2 years, 3 years, like some people have been playing. So maybe I'm not bored enough with the old mechanics to need to add new shit. But for me, all it does is slow stuff down. Every mechanic that you add, every new thing, like a lantern that goes off after, and we'll do some of these things. And some of these things, the mechanics on it gets like redonk. But let me do this. David Buck says, I'm not nearly smart enough to design an RPG, and I totally respect it, Hunter. But if I want to spend my free time repeatedly dying, I'll play Elden Ring without using magic. There you go. That's the other thing. So here we go. So let me just do this. Let me just read this. Let me just do this. Let me just cut to the chaser. So look at this. So it gets nuts. Here we go. So here we go. Okay, so here's what we have to do to escape this dungeon. Instead of just finding the boss and defeating the boss, we have to escape this dungeon. We'll need to find a brass key to match the brass lock on the chapel doors. However, finding the key and then finding the chapel door will be difficult. When you find a door with a brass lock, roll d12. On a 12 plus, so initially they thought, well, a 12 D12 only goes up to 12. So what's this 12 plus? Well, we'll find out, but you'll have to read further. And if you don't know RPGs and you don't know RPG rules, you're going to be lost. I had to figure it out by reading further on in the rules. If you don't know, like you don't play all the time, you're screwed. You're screwed. There's not enough space to provide enough explanation to get this crazy with the stuff. When you find a door with a brass lock, roll d12. On a 12 plus, this is the chapel and you fight the dungeon boss. If not, it opens into a random room. Keep track of each brass lock you try and add +1 for each previous door that wasn't the chapel. You're getting into obscurity. It's going to get nuts. And beyond that, you're still having to keep track of so much fucking shit now. You have to keep track of, and this is not the worst one. When we get to the one with the bats in the belfry, wait till I read you that one about how you're supposed to keep track of that shit. Brass door lock, you need a brass key. Here are the door types. Instead of just, is it stuck and you have to pass a strength test? Is it locked and you have to pass a wits test? Here you have a brass door lock, you need a brass key. A stuck door, you strength test. Okay, padlock door, dex test. That's fine. Okay, that's and some of them are trapped. Here we go. Lobby. You may use the vending machine to purchase new equipment, but each time you do, the layout of the asylum changes for some reason. Brass lock rolls reset? Oh, come on. Like, you would have to keep track of that. And what does that even mean? Waiting room. You may rest on a bench here to heal D12 health. However, when you get up to leave, you can't tell how much time has passed and lose D12 will. Lab. The lab is filled with test tubes. You may drink one. Roll D20, 20, turn into a spider. Game over. Oh, 20, you turn into a spider. The game is over. 10 through 19, lose D6 health. Okay, go up a level. Okay, fine. Will damage rolls are doubled to your office. Roll wits to look through old papers. If you pass, add +1 to your future brass lock D12 rolls. Already, I can tell you as an experienced gamer, I'm already saying to myself, I don't want to play. Because the point of this game is not I'm trying to learn another Pathfinder. I'm trying to learn another 5e. I'm trying to learn GURPS. The point of Micro Chapbook RPG is I don't have to learn that. The point of Micro Chapbook RPG is I have a book I can throw into my duffel bag and take with me on the train. The point of Macro Chapbook RPG is I have a game system that I can memorize, and then if me and my friends are hanging out drinking Jolt, I can spontaneously say, do you dudes want to play Bubba Hotep the RPG? No shit. Do you guys want to play Bubba Hotep the RPG? We can do it right now. Go grab Monopoly. Go grab me a friggin' boggle. All we need is 2d6 and a friggin' pencil. We don't even really need graph paper, really. We just need paper because we can friggin' draw boxes good enough. You know what I mean? And we can do this because I can remember, basically what the friggin' weapons are supposed to cost and what the monsters are supposed to be worth. And I don't need to remember friggin' how many friggin' D8s have passed since friggin' the moon was in the Neptune of Jupiter's brass lock. It gets nuts. Too many ideas. It was great ideas, but that gets complicated. You found map piece. You found a piece of the asylum map. Add +1 to one brass to one brass lock D12 roll. Wow. So you'd be looking to, if you wanted to have a question about the rules of the mechanics of this particular dungeon, bear in mind that this was the dungeon for October 2nd, and it's now the 6th. Okay. So you're screwed because that was the 2nd, right? And on October 3rd, hold on October 3rd, hold on. On October 3rd, the Belfry of Bats was released. Now, if you want to talk about a mechanic that'll make you want to friggin' blow your brains out, again, we have the language about you need to change your proficiency to this proficiency. Why? I have no idea. Dungeon details. The belfry is a crumbling structure of old stone that seems to stretch into the inky clouds high above. Surely it can't be that high, right? However, standing at the base of the stairs, it seems that this tower may not obey the usual physical laws of the world knew. In fact, you're sure nothing in the black ink depths obey these laws. Blah 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 blah. So you're going up, right? Now check this out. If I couldn't make heads or tails of this at first, only thing I could understand was the notion that I would be able to understand this and have fun with this as a solo player. I was like, and I know that there's gonna be someone out there that's gonna be like, "You're an idiot if you can't visualize that. That's easy to understand." I'm like, "F you." The bell tower has multiple levels within it. Your goal is to reach the belfry by ascending the bell tower to the top. However, this will be easier said than done. Tower levels. Each level of the tower may only have a max of 5 rooms. Now, bear in mind, it can take you up to like 30 minutes, 45 minutes to like get through a room if like there's enough people in there. If you've not located a staircase or bell rope by the last room, the final room of each level is a staircase. Keep each level of the tower on a separated section of the graph paper. Number each of them as you go up using staircases. Whenever you are in a staircase, you may move up or down if you are foolish, the tower. Roll a d20. If the result is lower than your current level, you move to the level matching the number rolled. If the number is equal to or higher than your current tower level, move up one level. Then roll d20 again and add the number of levels you've cleared so far. Yes, all rooms on a level must be cleared for this to count. If the roll is 20 plus, the final rule of this level will be the belfry. You must fight the boss of the dungeon in this belfry. Fuck you. I have no idea. All I know is that seems like what the fuck? What the fuck? I have no idea. Could you imagine? Like, because it's like seems like you're going down and then you're going up and then you're counting the number of levels. Like, what the fuck? I have no idea. And you what? Door types, roll a d6, bell rope. One of the bell ropes hangs here. Make a dexterity test to climb to the next level or take d6 health damage. See, that this part of this is that, like, part of me thinks, like, there's no way that anyone is going to get anywhere. So maybe that was the thing. Stuck door, make a strength test, blah, 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 blah. Make a charisma test to pray to the unholy gods open. I like that. Trap table, collapse floor. Here we go. Watch this. Watch this. Move to another level. Roll d20. Collapse floor. The floor here has collapsed, leaving only wooden beams to cross. Whenever you roll an automatic failure on strength or dexterity rolls, makes a dexterity roll or fall to the floor below for d6 health damage. And then I assume you're on the floor below. Does that mean, like, if you were there already, you would have to go to that map? You know what I mean? And, like, what if you weren't? Then you'd have to, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a possibility that you would, I don't know what the hell this is going to. Balcony. Choose one wall of this room to be an outdoor balcony. No room can be built on that side. Oh my God. Oh my God. All these things that cost you health. Oh my God. There's also I love these treasures. I mean, so some of the stuff, it's like, okay, so redeeming stuff, some of the stuff you could take out for treasure. I mean, some of the stuff I might take for take the treasure tables, use it in a different thing. Like, just omit that whole fucking bizarro thing and just put in the regular boss finding rule and just leave it at that and be like, okay, whatever. And then just be like, Rusty K, whatever. I have Rusty K. Take my rusty key and run. Black Mass Communion Wafer, heal D6 health but lose D8 willpower. Great. Black Mass Communion Wine, heal D8 willpower but lose D6 health. Great. Unholy Water, when you drink, roll D20. Gain another Ink Shadow ability. That's like a double proficiency again. Unholy, gain a level. I like that. Unholy Healing, gain D6 will or health. I guess that's is that, see again, is gain D6 will or health, is that healing or is that to your max? I'm assuming it's max. Oh God. And here we go. The incredibly overpowered monsters. Flesh-eating bat, D3 will damage, D3 health damage, life force 2. Next entry is the bloodletting vampire bat with a will damage of 6, health damage of 3, and a life force of 3, and a max of 6. The next entry, a giant vampire bat, a max of 3, will damage of 8, health damage of 6, damage modifier of 1, life force of 10. Get out of town. Get out of town. Get out of that. I mean, it's not impossible about the designer. Hi, my name is Noah Patterson. I'm a queer, apparently sadistic. I'm teasing. God bless you. So look, it's not that it's impossible. I just think that it's impossible for a level 1 character. Then came subterranean squids. The next day brought us subterranean squids. David Bucky says, gotta get the kids from school. Love you, CW friends. I'll finish watching later. Thank you for showing up at all. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you for showing up at all. You're fantastic. I gotta get going myself. So we got subterranean squids and crematorium of the dead. Let's just run through it. And again, look, it's horses for courses. There's going to be some people that this is going to really scratch their itch. There's going to be some people that will have no problem. They'll say, yeah, you know what we did? We absolutely brought our characters from the other games. And Noah Patterson said, swap out our proficiencies, and we didn't. And Noah Patterson said this, and the other thing, and we didn't. So again, and I'll just make it quick so that we're not here all day, because unfortunately I have to go too. So subterranean squids, this is good, but again, I think that I think we've got great mechanics. I don't think these things get play tested, because I don't know how these things would work. They're great. So this one, we've got the extra mechanic here is being underwater. So here we go. The subterranean caves you are in are small and compact. Room-sized rolls are made with a D10. Also missing, remember I mentioned that missing from the starter module was the mention of backtracking and dual wielding with melee, with two melee weapons. You know what I also don't recall seeing was the use of a dexterity weapon only in rooms of a certain size. Again, is that because we've omitted that rule on purpose, or because we didn't have space for that rule, or we forgot to put that rule in? But we had space for the luck die. Why? Get rid of that luck die. No one needs it. Has anyone asked for that? Did anyone request that? Anyone who says that should stay in is a terrible, terrible yes person that should be taken out of your life immediately. They're not looking out for your best interest. Anyway, the subterranean caves you are in are small and compact. Room-sized rolls are made with a D10 instead of a D20. Additionally, every room has water in it. Roll D12 to see how deep the water is in each room. Water levels, D6. D6 roll. Okay, well, no. See, it says D12 roll. That's a big deal. Come on now. I guess that's a typo, right? That's a big typo, right? It's a big fucking typo. Anyway, let's get together. 1 to 4. 1 to 2 feet deep, no effect on gameplay. 5 to 8, 3 to 4 feet deep, +1 on all attack rolls. It's a big deal. 5 to 6 feet deep. Also, do these stack? Tell the newbies. Do these stats attack? Right? Do these, 9 to 11, 5 to 6 feet deep, +2 on all attack rolls, and make a swim dexterity roll before each round of combat, or take 1 drowning damage. Wow. +2 on attack rolls. Now, here's what's crazy. 5 to 8, +1 on attack rolls. 9 to 11, +2 on attack rolls. So plus 12 feet. You might anticipate +3 on attack rolls, right? Maybe? Well, no. Same as 5 to 6 feet, except, so I guess it's +2 on attack rolls. After each round of combat, make a strength roll to hold your breath. If you fail, lose 1 health damage. This health damage doubles for each time you fail in the same room. It's the same as 5 to 6 feet, except after each round of combat, make a strength roll. Okay. So I guess instead of the dexterity roll, you make a strength roll. I guess it is what it is. But that's not even so that's not even the finding the boss mechanic. So that's another mechanic in addition to the extra crazy mechanics with the bosses that we've been talking about. To escape this dungeon, you must find the quote unquote Devil's Neck. The Devil's Neck is a pit that will allow you to climb up and out of the watery subterranean caves. To find the Devil's Neck, you have to follow clues that lead you out, such as receding water and drafts. After each room is cleared of monsters, make a wits test to search for clues. If you pass, you're on the right track. Roll D20 and subtract the number of cleared rooms. If the roll is 0, the next room is the devil's neck. You must fight the boss in this room. That's not so bad. That's not so bad, I guess. Once the boss is defeated, you may make a dexterity test to climb out. Each failure inflicts D3 health damage in your attempts to climb out. Jesus. If you fail your clues roll and you're in a room, you've lost the trail. Keep track of how many times you fail. Using the chart below, the number of failures will impact your water levels roll as you descend deeper into the caves. Each time you pass, subtract minus. Oh, that's see again. This is like so much stuff you have to keep track of each of this. So here's another thing you have to keep track of, and that's you're gonna end up drowning real quick. Multi-hole passage, make a wits test to pass. If you fail, you end up wedged in a tight space, lose D3 health and willpower as you scream and wiggle out. Add +1 to the water level here. Jesus. Oh, God. So there's some interesting stuff here that might be interesting, you know. But like I said, it's like a lot of stuff to keep track of. And like I said, okay, so here are the enemies. The one is trap, which is just kill you. First enemy, subterranean water snake, D3 wits and health damage, life force of 2, max 6. I'd expect that as like the second real entry. Look at this. The white-eyed lanternfish, D10 wits damage, max 6. So that's 6 possibilities of a guy coming at you taking 10 wits damage. Health damage 3, life force 3. That's like it's insane. Look at this. The fourth entry, baby blood squid. D6 across the board, life force of 5. You need a party of high level adventurers, or you need a big guy or gal or somebody to do these dungeons. I don't know how you're supposed to do these dungeons on a first level guy. I don't know how it's possible. I just don't know how it's possible. Take care, Rugged Source. Thank you for hanging out for the amount of time you did. Miss Jonaside checks in. Totally off subject. I pulled my old character sheets from 27, 24 years ago. 25-year nostalgia loop. 1997. I have 3 BattleTech, 4 for Rifts, and 4 D&D, a Shadowrun, 2 BattleTech, and of course 1 Masquerade. But this is my old folder. Baby, you're speaking our language, and you made so many friends. Be careful, Jonaside. Watch out. Watch out. Watch your girl's inbox. Watch your girl's inbox. Watch your girl's inbox. I'm telling you. Watch your girl's inbox. Watch your girl's inbox. I'm telling you. Too funny. Too funny. Here we go. Last one up. Last one up at bat. We're going to take a look at the Crematorium of the Dead. And this is our zombie themed module released on October 5th yesterday. So there's going to be another module released tonight, and I'll pick it up. These individual modules are 99 cents. The first one that came out, the starter pack, was listed at a price of $3.99 on Drive-Thru RPG for the PDF. It has been released as hard copy on Amazon, but I haven't picked it up yet. The dungeon goals here are the most, I guess these are like the most easy to understand that I've seen so far. And of all the modules that I've seen on first impression, it's the one that I looked at and said, I'd probably play this one. But I got to be completely honest with you. Of all of these, what I think is going to end up happening is I don't think that I'm going to concentrate on the Black Ink Depths dungeons this Halloween season. What I think I'm going to end up doing is, I got to tell you folks, I think I'm going to end up spending this Halloween season with Micro Chapbook RPG, Micro RPG, showing you older Micro RPG, Micro Chapbook RPG product, and playing that, because there's a lot of great. Noah is a Halloweeny fan, after my old heart, after my Halloweeny heart, and they've been doing horror stuff for since they've been doing this stuff, and there's a ton of old stuff to look at. And it is not that I think the black ink depths are bad. In fact, what I think I need to do is, I think when I look at one of these modules, is that I think what I need to do is, I think I'm going to look at which ones I like the best as far as the monsters are concerned. And I think I'm just going to do it without the obtuse, what I think is the obtuse ending mechanic. Or maybe I just need to have someone explain it to me better. Maybe I'm just going to send Noah a DM and see, like, these ending mechanics are just bizarre. I have no idea what you're talking about. Explain it to me, bitch. Or hold your forked tongue in the realms of gay hell, because no fucking idea what you're talking about. Hooker, you're a slut. The burnt up dead infest the rooms and halls of the sub basement like roaches, blah, blah, blah. All stairwell. So, what we have to do in this dungeon is we have to escape out of the basement through a sealed stairwell door. So, it's going to be, when we initially encounter the stairwell door, there are no bosses in this level. It's just these stairwell doors that we're going to have to bust through. And when we initially find them, we are going to roll our strength roll, but +4. That's going to be almost impossible. If we fail, you must fight another group of monsters, then make the strength roll again, but +3. Follow this pattern, reducing the modifier and fighting the monsters until it is +0. If you fail the strength roll even with no modifier, then that stairwell is simply too blocked up to use. Move on. Additionally, the monsters in this dungeon will always follow you even if you flee a room. That's an interesting mechanic that can work, and I like the way that mechanic can work in with the lore, can work in, like, with world building. The fact that, a particular entry can be worked to the point of being exhausted and not be a possibility. Though I think the way that the scenario is set up, and again with these enemies, this is a scenario that I would want to do like at 4 Against Darkness style. I'd want to do with more than one character, either running it with a party or running it with a group, either co-op or as a GM. But I need to show you this. Talking about, that's what I like about this. Let's talk about where the wedgie goes atomic. Noah, again, threw in way too many, unnecessary mechanics. Room types. Incinerator, number 2. This room has an old incinerator oven. Roll D2. 1. The oven is cold. 2. The oven is lit up. All monsters in this room are on fire and thus are always deal at least 1 health damage every round. Their normal health damage rolls are always made at +1. Okay. But look at this. Hold on. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. Okay, here we go. There's ones that are dex test or dexterity test or lose D6 health. Some of these rooms are just savage. Lose D4 health from inhaling falling ash. Witch test or lose D10 health if any fire is ignited. Make a dexterity roll or lose D20. D20 what? Health, I'm assuming. That's just going to kill you. Here we go. Treasures, lighter. Has enough fuel to use D6 times. Use in a room with a whispering gas leak trap to deal D20 damage to all enemies. You must make a dexterity test or also lose D20 health yourself. Okay. Bottle of water used for a ranged attack on one enemy that is on fire to put them out. Okay. Okay. Here, now check this out. Kerosene. Use once for a ranged attack if you have a lighter to deal D12 damage to all enemies in a room. Any enemies who survive are now on fire. Da 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 da. Now this is scavenge. Nothing found. Then here we go. Melee. Bent scalpel. Here's a melee weapon with D2 damage. So here, it's all these different new weapons you can find. But then they have these use. So, maybe you can use it 3 times. Electric bone saw. Gas-powered chainsaw. The weapons on the scavenge chart may be helpful to you. However, they are old, rusted, and broken down. Thus, after each time you use one of these in an attack, roll d6 and subtract the use score. Here's the use score. If the result is 0, the weapon breaks. That's kind of like a bastardization of like the breaking die mechanic from like the Black Hack. And it's like, again, another thing that you have to keep track of. Like, why can't you just find like a bloody bone saw and an old rusty hatchet are just the kind of melee weapons that you see for just these kind of weapon damages for that you see in the fucking rule book. So why all of a sudden are we now all of a sudden having these weapons and we're not just finding them, but we're finding them, but now all of a sudden we're having to keep track of them, their use score? It's nuts. Now watch this. The electric bone saw must have a power source to use. When entering a room, roll a wits test to see if you can find an outlet to plug the saw into. Then roll the luck dice. Oh, finally, the good thing we have that luck dice because now we finally have a use for it to see if it has power. The roll of +6 mean that it does. The roll of 6+ mean that it does. Why not just, you know what else you could have just said? You could have just said, D2. Even score means that it does. But no, good thing we have that luck dice. And what did that mean? Like, if we're rolling the luck dice, doesn't mean like if we get the electric bone saw is working, but it's kind of working. Jesus, the gas-powered chainsaw runs on gas. When you find it, roll d6. That is how many attacks the chainsaw will run for, which means that you could run the d6 and get a 1, so it runs for 1 attack. You must still use the use roll as well as per attack. Great. If you have a can of kerosene, you may use it to refill the chainsaw for d6 more attacks. So great. Underpowered, overly complex, too hard to use. How many hours did we spend trying to figure out how interesting that would be to throw in? I'm sorry. Because we're going to be releasing 1 dungeon every day when we probably could have done 1 dungeon every week and made it like a kick-ass $5 dungeon. And I don't know, like, whatever, dude, you know what I mean? But like this look, you want to go down here? You're gonna tell me, is anyone gonna tell me if you had a first level character survive these dungeons? I want to know about it. I want to know if anyone survived these first level dungeons with a first level character. I want to know. Maybe I'm just like the worst player because I don't know how it's possible, because I know what people were reporting their experiences to be with enemies that were, I know what the mechanics of scale are at ×2, ×3, and ×4. I know my 4 times tables. I know my 3 times tables when it comes to like 2 times 3 and 3 times 3 and 3 times 4, right? So I'm like that, you know what I mean? So hey, Spooky, what's going on, baby? Hey, Andrew Vale, what's going on, baby? So there's no way in heck that a character put together with 7 points in their main stats, with 1 proficiency, rolling their cash and buying their weapons out of this shop at these rates is going to be able to survive encounters with these monsters. And there's no way that they're going to be able to do so and be able to. It's mathematically impossible. So says I. I mean, well, hey, no, actually, look, I can't say that, right? Because they could roll ones across the board. They could just ace of spades and just like, walk through it, right? It's chance, right? They could just get incredibly lucky and just get amazing rolls. So it's possible, right? It's improbable, but I guess it's possible. I would say that these here's my take on it. Here's my take on the black ink depths so far. The black ink depths so far have the following problems. And it's my problems. They're systematic. Some of them are systematic. Some of in regards to the starter module itself as a beginning instance of, as an iteration of the micro RPG rule set, it, like the last couple of instances of the micro RPG rule set that I have seen since the famous 2021 advanced character creation guide and basic rule set unveiling, 1.75 unveiling, there's like too much rules bloat. There's too much new stuff being put in and too much classic bedrock, good, solid, old stuff that's being taken out. That's my take on it. Damn me if you will, damn me if you won't, Noah. That's my take on it. That's what I believe is happening. And I think it's happening because of designer boredom. And I think because of an insular community probably around them that's basically saying, we're bored, but if they're bored, they should probably go off and play friggin' Iron Falcon, right? It's probably time for those people to go off and friggin' explore friggin', delving deeper with fucking solo RPG guy or friggin', you know what I mean? Like do something. I don't know, whatever. But the solution to dissatisfaction with Trivial Pursuit is not like to figure out how to motorize it. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, like how do we make it electric? It's like go do something else. You know what I mean? Like don't mess with Trivial Pursuit. It's fine. The Trivial Pursuit is not the problem. It's your marriage, right? You know what I mean? Genocide. Riffs. Joke. Mess around. Anywho, but Noah's got other things going on. Like he's got this is what I think is going on. When I saw him starting to do this, he's got this 212 system that he started working with. These are not solo plays. These are group play games, game exploitation. This is the number 2 game that he's done for Cannibal Zombie Flesh Eaters. He's also got a camp one. I like this system. You can tell it borrows a lot from micro RPG, but it's a different system. And I think that's good. I think he needs to flex out, and they need to flex out and do different things. Boy, ribbing. And do different things. And I think that'll save it a little bit. Resist the temptation to mess. Again, I think the problem is you don't want to run into a new Coke situation. You don't want to mess with new Coke. Coke is Coke. Don't mess with the formula. The temptation of the executives at Coke is to want to do something because to justify being there. You don't need to do anything. Just be the executives at Coke and just sit there and guard the formula. You know what I mean? Just resist the temptation to do something with Coke. Just don't do anything with it. Um, so there's stuff that I think is here. It's worth. I mean, as a collector, I'm going to get this stuff. I think it's great. The enemies definitely have that. Look, just saying it's not fitted or tailor suited for low level characters. Saying what? Saying it's suited for a high level character. So a couple of things I might do. I might roll up a higher level character. Cadence Humor bit the bullet in the Black Ink Depths, the Garden of the Gargoyles. But there's a great game published by Noah Patterson in the micro chapbooks system called it's called the Deepest Dungeon, and it specifically involves dead characters resurrecting in hell and becoming undead super characters. I think our guy might end up there. That might be a great Halloween game to play. We have other games that we can try by Noah Patterson in the same thing. We got Into Terror, which is one of the first iterations. This is one of the deluxe core rule books that came out in the early iterations of early days. This is a 2020 release. This was an early iteration, a modern take on this micro chapbook system. We could definitely try it out. Here's a deluxe adventure module, another hard themed module kind of thing. Not quite the hammer and cross thing that we'll look at. Here's some evil characters. This is basically the basic this is like an evil character version of the basic core rulebook, the first basic core rulebook, which is interesting because some of these characters we see later on in different forms. So that might be something to look at. Another kind of spooky module we could try. Micro horror RPG. This is this is an updated version of Into Terror. Now in the kind of 1.75 gay realms world. We have another iteration of that in the form of we have Hammer and Cross. We have the old Hammer and Cross, which is the Victorian era horror world, gothic vampire horror. We also have some of the entries from the Bone Lord Chronicles, which was an ongoing set of games in that era. Dwarves of the Hellforge. We also have Castle of the Dead 2, Electric Boogaloo, which has got 3 different versions of that module, which is just like the modules that we've seen. We have a whole bunch of micro RPG goodness that is of a Halloween bent or of a horror bent that we could definitely have some fun, and definitely some characters. You saw me when I did that series on how to add some stuff. We had those horror themed guys, the vampire and the construct and the specter and the spook. So we definitely have some stuff and some fun that we can play with, and maybe we can try some of those guys and gals and see if they have a better time against these higher level enemies in the inky depths. And anyone else who tunes in, most of the people who show up for the live chat are people from my old channels. You can look, I'm doing a better job of adding the descriptions in the description box, adding my old content and some of my old links so people can see, where I've been, who will get a little better sense of what I'm about. In closing, I talk, the good, the bad, because this is how things improve, and these are things how things get better, and these are things how things people get a better idea. If I just come out and say this is fantastic and this is wonderful and everything's great, well then no one gets nothing. It is what it is. Nothing's anything. So it is what it is. 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 And currently, it is a fantastic gaming system that continues to be fantastic. But I think we're going through a series of transitions, no pun intended, where people are finding themselves. And I think, if interest is going to continue, um, you know, you know, focus, needs to be, found and maintained, and and strengthened and structured, and it is what it is. And when we'll see how things develop, and I'll continue to watch on, and see how things go, and continue to have fun, and continue to have fun, and as we move forward into the future. And in this Halloween season, I improve things a little bit. I need a little accoutrement each day, reaching for, and like I said, like these things, like um with the higher level character, the game may play like butternut squash and be fantastic. And these are things I just noticed, but I wouldn't, and it's my desire to see the game succeed that makes me say, please, for the love of God, make sure that that there's backtracking in there, and make sure that the dual wielding familia is in there, versus making sure that the luck dice is in there, or the power moves are in there, because make sure that the stuff that's in there for the new players is in there, so that the new players get hooked, because it's a new system worth hooking new players in, because it's a great system. It really is. I really love it, and want to see it, reach its maximum potential. A card for the zombie from the zombie tarot for us in this stream, and the thing that we continue. There we go, baby. The Wheel of Fortune. The only change is constant. The only constant is change. Drop the tab, take the trip. Yep. Take care, my friend. Because whether you want to or not, you already have. We're all along for the ride. Bit of a captive audience. And we're all along for the ride. And it's okay. Because if dissatisfied, we can know and understand this. Close our eyes for but a moment, and the moment will change. But we must also remember this. If too self-satisfied and smug and happy with our surroundings, close your eyes. Open them again. Because sooner or later, sure as anything, the situation will have changed as well. Things change. Inevitably. But things stay the same. And we get used to it. Or at least we can. If we're able to get and maintain the right and proper attitude. All you need to do is just kind of loosen up the reins sometimes and try to relax. Go with the flow. Sometimes it helps if you close your eyes. Breathe for the moment. All right. I love you. I love you. I love you. If nobody told you they loved you today, somebody just did. For the moment, that being is Cable Guy Incognito, aka CW Chanter, aka Benjamin. Wishing you another healthy, happy day of this Halloween season as we continue our countdown. Noah Patterson inevitably will release another mini dungeon. I'll pick it up. Hey, I'll pick it up. Will you? Someone will. And I want to know, If you have completed any of these dungeons, Noah Patterson, if you've completed any of these dungeons with a level 1 character, Noah Patterson, I want to hear about it. I am dying to know. Please let me know. Working on it, Tim. It hasn't come out of the oven yet. Hasn't cooled. I love you. You too. What I'm also going to start doing, what I also wanted to do is I wanted to pull a card, have another series of videos where I pull a card for Wings of Redemption and Dark Side Phil. But that'll have to wait. Okay. I'll talk to you guys soon. I love you. Till next time.